so I got into crickets about 13, 14 years ago. Basically, I read science journals for fun. I was really bad at science during school, and but what got me into it was when the Galileo probe went around Jupiter in 1996. So that sort of started me in science, and over the years, during the Millennium Drought and things like that, scientists were very concerned about how much water our food takes to produce, and so then basically I read a study saying that crickets were the gold standard protein. They beat everything. They beat beef and chicken and all that, and in fact they were like 33,000% more efficient than beef. And I thought, wow, like if ever I'm going to start a business, having a 33,000% advantage over a significant competitor would be a great way to start. So that piqued my curiosity. So then I started diving in, looking into them, and I found out that they're actually like some really amazing benefits to crickets, just in terms of the nutrition, just how their biology and how fast they grow and how quickly they reproduce, and also then I finally got around to eating some, and they're actually really tasty. Like they taste like nothing. They taste like beige, like really, if anything. Like what's that? It's pretty bland and all that. So yeah, so that's sort of what. And then with climate change, someone should do something about it. Well, it really just dawned on me, hey, I'm someone. You're someone. You're someone. And so that's sort of what launched me into actually farming them. It was actually a practical step that I could take to actually help reduce my carbon footprint and the amount of water that my food takes. All my cricket stuff there, it's out on the table at the moment. Captain Marvel was, she's my favourite. Like, she used to be called Ms. Marvel. Like, the first comic I ever got was Ms. Marvel. But she has the power of a white hole. Like, what the fuck's a white hole? Well, when I was 13, I started reading about black holes and white holes, and so and that kicked off. That was one of the things that kicked off my interest in science. And so here I am, decades later, getting into crickets and stuff like that. So yeah, everyone needs a little workspace where they can work. And here's all my costumes. A bunch of cosplay costumes. Like, yeah, once you get to a certain age, like, you never grow up. Yeah. So, and there's just behind you there is Captain Cricket, and also some comic art that I've done myself, and made up my own sort of little superheroes and all that sort of thing. That used to just stop me from being bored. Here's a whole bunch of superhero action figures that I done, like so with Batman, like he's American, so I was like, where the fuck are the Australian animals? So I did a whole heap of like koala and platypus and wombat and all that, and then sort of realised that there was a bit of an opportunity to do some using scientific stuff. So there's animal, vegetable, mineral, and electromagnetic, the EMG sort of thing. So got a bit of an idea for a card game using dice and stuff like that. Like there's 64 good ones and 64 bad ones. So you can see that I'm a bit random, do random sort of stuff. I am 46 years old, so I've had a lot of time to do so. So just moving through here. My science journal collection, so I've been reading
science.
Yeah,
my mum reads that a lot as well.
I've been reading that for 22 years. So, any of you guys older than 22?
No.
Oh, so 23? No? You're all under 23?
Yep.
So your whole entire life. There's also a few Scientific Americans and stuff. So this is my so I used to do superhero kids parties and that as well, just for shits and giggles. So. Which was this is a little, like a Thor hammer. First go. So I made this like just with some, yeah. Oops. Because you know, I thought like flipping it around and stuff. So this is the cricket farm just here. So basically it's just enclosed environment to create an artificial environment for them. It's like cricket's like, you know, about 30 degrees. It's a bit difficult in Canberra, but if you can grow them here, you can grow them anywhere. And the idea is it has a bit of a cycle that they can move through. That crickets have like an 8-week life cycle and stuff. So yeah, so it's a it's probably a bit gross in there now. I just sort of left it, but there's just a bunch of. You can just see it's just. I've been experimenting with glass tanks, and I don't really like the glass tanks. I'm going to be moving towards the plastic tanks and all, plastic tubs and all that. Like the idea is that, you know, in a controlled environment like this, you could also grow like other insects like mealworms, which are also similarly highly, really fast growing and, you know, eat food waste and very nutritious. Also want to try mushrooms in there, like not magic ones, but the healthy ones. Crickets, we just grow them in tubs and basically try and keep them as self-contained. So they're little cricket hotels or sort of like cricket day spas where they like. So I've just got, you know, plastic tubs, and I've also been experimenting with glass. Yeah, being an entrepreneur is awesome, but it's also very tiring because you've got to, you know, try and gain expertise in accounting and financing and computers and, graphic arts and social media, as well as just doing what it is that you want to do. You have to, you know, be comfortable with speaking in public. Oh my God, get the cameras off me! No more cameras. There's not enough cameras. Basically, you can hear the crickets chirping in the background I got from a supplier. We're just setting up a basic little cricket tank. This is something people could have in their own homes. Now this isn't gonna, you know, the crickets you grow in here aren't gonna feed the whole world, but it's a good place to start and just to get the basics off it. This is glass that we're using. I tend to like to put a bit of paper down just so they've got something to crawl on. We're going to do is have, this is, oh God, my mind's gone blank. What's this? This is coconut core. So this can be sort of, this is basically a potting mix that you can get from any sort of Bunnings. This is the crickets bought from the shop. I'm just going to empty them in here. I call all the boys Buddy because they're your little buddy. And all the girls I call them Bertha because they give birth. Really original. But crickets actually have they shed their skin. They have they shed their skin 7 times. So I've also sort of, just for fun, I sort of named their little cycles. So yeah, the industry standard for week-old crickets is called pinnies or pinheads. That's because they're the size of a pinhead. When they're 2 weeks old, I call them nippers. When they're 3 weeks old, I call them toddlers because they are sort of like toddlers. 4 weeks they're tweenies. 5 weeks they're teenies. At week 6 they're starting to get a bit frisky and starting to think about having sex, and so I call them friskies. When they're 7 weeks old, they're the breeders, and when they're 8 weeks old, I call them the grillers, because what we do is we grill them. I guess I probably could like just grab them and... Oh, one escaped. Okay, so that does happen from time to time. So I'm a bit of a cricket wrangler. The best way to catch a cricket is basically to put your hands either side of it, and it just sort of freaks out and doesn't know where to go. So I actually spent a bit of time wild harvesting crickets, like there's one over there, one over there. So you just put your hand around and then got him like that. There he is there. See? Hello little buddy. A little bit of fun. No harm done. So females lay 100 eggs in general. that's your starting point. These guys are about a week or two. You can hear the amount of chirping. They're just starting to come ready to start reproducing, having sex. And boop. With the coconut core, that's what they're going to lay their eggs into. And then once you've got the eggs, we'll harvest them out of here, and then that egg bed will go into a new tank, and then the little crickets will just erupt out of that, and the cycle continues. So there's about 400 crickets here, and so there's usually 50% males, 50% females, so there's probably going to be about 200 females in here. So each female lays 100 eggs, so potentially these 400 crickets I could get 20,000 babies out. See, there's always, as I said, like, you know, some of them are just assholes. Like this one, he just wants to go the other way. Okay, buddy, well, you do you. Now, oh, we do have a dead one, see? So this is why, oh no, sorry, that's the skin. There we go, it's shed its skin. So now all we have to do is put a bit of, give them something for water. And this is just a, you know, $2 tub from, saucer. What are they called? Like you put them at the bottom of your pot plants. Crickets can actually drown very easily, like you know, in a lot of water, because their lung is basically a bunch of holes on the side of their abdomen. There's just some water in there that they can crawl into and crawl out of. Then basically what we'll do is we'll get some food. So I don't know, what have we got in the fridge? The ugliest looking carrot that you've ever seen. It's a Franken carrot. Also got a bit of broccoli. I'll just feed them the stem. So then this is part of the stuff about food waste is, you know, certainly as I understand it, like broccoli farmers, you know, about 30% of the biomass that they farm actually doesn't get used because it's just the stem, and people don't really like the stem, they just want the top stuff. Well, who does like the stem is crickets, and so we'll cut some of this up and they can hoe into it. And so crickets actually, you can gut load them, so whatever you feed them they can actually taste like that a little bit. So some of the earlier ones I grew was like, what is that? And it was like friggin' potato. It was like, what's that? Oh, that's broccoli. Like, so there's that. Main thing we need to do is keep the air circulation going. So when I put them, do have a fan on, and of course they like a bit of warmth. So really just cut it into slices. And once this has been used, like this I would just leave this in here for probably a day. Like, don't want it getting too mouldy. Like crickets don't eat it if it does get mouldy. But now they've got food, they've got water, they've got somewhere to lay, and they've got shelter. Like this is a little cricket day spa, ready to go. All I have to do is mate and start laying, and the cycle will continue. So these crickets have been in here breeding for about 2 weeks now. So you saw us install them. So they've laid a lot of eggs in the container of peat moss. Coconut core. These guys are just about at the end of their life, so before they all die, we're going to harvest them. We'll only get a small amount this time, but they've managed to complete their genetic destiny by you know, growing up and having sex and laying eggs, and that's all they really have to do in life, and then they expire. So before they expire, we're going to just basically put them into a container
and then put them in the freezer where they'll go to sleep. And so the way I do that is we're just also trying to separate out where we can, you know, any other bits of rubbish, crap. I have to think of a better word than that. So I've got this little, I just use this sort of thing as a sifter, which they can't get out of, and it just makes any other, you know, as much stuff as possible fall through the edge. But so just going back here, see how can you see this? Can you see the cricket eggs? They look like little rice grains. So they will just develop over the coming days. This egg tray will go into an incubator, and in about 7 to 10 days they will erupt out, and the cycle will start again. So with these guys, I'm just going to do, this is the dangerous part. Really what we could do is we could just pick this up and tip this in there, but I like to treat my little guys with a bit of care and kindness. Crickets can freak out a bit, like when they're disturbed, so we're going to try and disturb them as less as possible. But they could all jump everywhere, but with a nice calm steady hand we just put them in there and shake them in there. See? Now they find it really hard to get out because the top bit's really slippery. See this one guy struggling to get out? And so the way we minimise them all jumping off is we just hold it for a little bit and they just all chill out. So you've seen a couple of crickets here have expired, and so we don't eat them, so it's pretty easy to tell. Again, that's one of the good things about them. You know, if they get too old or they get sick and die, they get sick, you know, they just die. The trick to catching wrangling crickets is really just to try and make a bit of a cup with your hand, because crickets do like little dark, you know, hidey places. So if you make your hand into a little hidey place, it will go, oh, that's a hidey place. So you can see that there's a bit of crap and stuff that's gone down the bottom, so we've managed to save that from our things. There might be still a few little bits, but then all I do is I whack them into another clean tub. The way I do that is I just I just bang the sides. Ta-da! We're going to wash these before we put them in. These are all just going to and then into the freezer, and Bob's your cricket burger. And this is what you'll end up with. And so then we'll just wash these, boil them for about 2 minutes, put them in the oven on low temperature for a while and dry them out.
Alrighty, so we're going to do some soy and chili crickets. So these ones have already been dry roasted in the oven, and basically what we're going to do is we're just going to put them in the fry pan, so add a bit of soy and a bit of chili, and maybe a bit of sesame, and then they'll be right to go. But basically you just get a bit of sesame oil, and so I'm just doing one container at a time. Actually, I probably should have done half. And now basically we're going to, this is just a a water bottle with soy sauce in it. So these crickets had already been cooked, so what we'd done is they had been washed, they'd been boiled for 2 minutes and then dried out in the oven on a really low heat. Put some chili powder on the spoon. Mix it all around. And that's pretty much done. That's not too bad. This is a bit like a bar snack, like, you know, like eating beer nuts and things like that. 70% protein. It's a bit, you know, that salt and chili flavour. You know, is yeah, it's just fun and exciting. And that's how simple it is. And that's how you do soy and chili crickets. So crickets in the science stuff's for the mind. Play tennis, always have, so that was for the body, and for the soul, one buddy and soul, was like music and stuff, and so I'm really just like a songwriter, I can't really play anything, but so I will just do that, you know, once or twice a week.
There's a song I wrote called Hello Summer. No? This is the best time of the year. Meet your friends at the club. Now's the time to get fucked up. Hello, summer. Hello, summer. So you asked me what I get up to in my spare time. Well, I'm not normally wearing my Captain Marvel apron, but it's normally the costume. You know, some lyrics just come to me, and that just sort of came together.
So I'm Tommy Cheeseman from Future Superfoods. Lovely to meet you
nice
today.
Nice to meet you too.
Yeah. Have you heard about crickets?
I have, yeah.
Would you like to try some? These are whole crickets. They've been dry roasted with soy and chili.
Thank you. Awesome. They're good.
Yeah, that's good. Like, you wouldn't believe it is cricket.
Helping save the environment with every bite.
Actually, not as bad as I would have expected.
Yeah, that's good. It's all about, you know, well, if you want to take practical action, you know, there is hope for the future.
Yeah.
We can actually have a low carbon food.
Yeah, that's awesome. Cool,
No
thank
worries.
you.
All
Thanks
right.
so much. Yeah, nice to meet you.
Yeah, likewise.
Thanks.
Like in life, it just takes, to get everyone eating them, it just takes one brave individual to have a go, and then everyone wants to get on the bandwagon. If we never try, you'll never succeed, you know, and sure, you might, you know, go down one path and you know, find out it's not really working or helping. That's fine, that's knowledge. That's now, you know, knowing what not to do is just as important as what to do. So, you know, is there hope? That absolutely, if you're willing to give things a go. It's, in a lot of ways, I feel like I'm selling crickets. I'm selling hope, and that comes back to that. You know, climate change. Someone should do something about it. No, guys, you're someone. You can do something about it. So, because one of my favourite ways of talking about crickets is that they can help unfuck
food production, and if we can incorporate them into fast foods and things like that, they can unfuck fast food. There absolutely is hope for the future. Anyone that tells you otherwise, tell them to fuck off.